Thank you very much, and good morning to everyone. Good morning, Excellencies and mayors and all the participants in this conference. I would like to really say thank you to the partners who are organizing this conference. And I would also really very much like to say thank you to Stockholm as the city that is hosting this conference. And as yesterday when we were at the City Hall, Mats Berglund and also Niklas Svensson, they pointed out that Stockholm is really a city which is working very intensively with the issues that we are all going to discuss here. So UN Habitat is an agency that is working with sustainable cities and housing issues. And we do that because we have a mandate which is given to us by big international conferences. These international conferences have been given the name Habitat and then running numbers, Habitat 1, Habitat 2. They run every 20 years. And the next one, Habitat 3, is just around the corner because it's going to be held 2016. We know that there is lots of challenges with cities, demographic, environmental, economic, social, spatial. And during the last decades, there has been a fundamental change in the urbanization. We are now more people in cities than on outside, but also what is happening is that the speed of urbanization is escalating tremendously. And I think one interesting example now when we are in Stockholm is actually that they have calculated here that they would reach the level 1 million inhabitants in Stockholm 2030. That's what they calculated 15 years ago. Today they realize this is going to happen 6 years earlier. So the speed of urbanization is tremendous, and that also means that since urbanization is going at another speed, it means that the solutions that we have had and how we built cities previously, it doesn't really work because the context is different today. So we think in UN Habitat that all the challenges, they can be mitigated and managed in a proper way, but to do this, we need systems for governance, and we need a way of managing cities and towns, and we need political will. And this conference, 2016, the Habitat 3, it's actually going to discuss this issue and to define these issues. So the notion of a city is not just the challenges. We, in UN Habitat, together with many of our partners, we are in a phase where we, in order to prepare for the Habitat 3 conference, we try to identify and formulate the way that we can go forward with cities and towns. And then the UN member states, because these conferences that we are basing our mandate on, it's a UN member state conference, they will set the agenda for us, and they will identify key ingredients and strategies that we should address in order to achieve urban sustainable growth for the future. Now, of course, it's not only a generic approach all over the world, even though there is a lot of that base, but there is also a local context that has to be added on. The importance of addressing public space it can be done in so many ways. And public space can be small efforts. It doesn't mean that it has to be huge financial implications. And there are actually great opportunities to improve the urban environment with very small issues in planning and design. Public space is what I think the spine of the city. It's the glue that keeps the city together, districts, local neighborhoods, and it give us a possibility to connect and have better accessibility. It gives us safer and more secure environment. It gives us interesting quality of life. Therefore, we in UN Habitat, we strongly believe that Management, governance has a lot to do with the provision of public space. We don't think that cities is happening just out by chance. Cities are planned. They are based on decisions which are taken. Sometimes these decisions are taken a long time ago, but we cannot just make it happen. It's the way they are planned that matters. And we think that cities has a lot of potentials. If they are properly managed, there are great potentials, and there are lots of synergies that can be unlocked in cities. This is an example that I think all of us knows already, but how a political will takes a decision and actually make a very important part, in this case of New York, to change and really let loose lots of forces when you leave the old rules and go into new ones. So, one thing that one should not forget, though, is that public space can, of course, appear in very many different forms and shapes. They vary over time, day and night, winter and summer. They can be permanent, they can be temporary, they can be informal. And we need to look at public space from a much wider perspective than what is traditionally done, basically thinking it is parks. So with new eyes on public space, I think there is really a lot that can be improved in existing cities, and there's a lot that can be done to new cities. One of our partners in the Future of Places network is Jan Gehl, and his approach is that cities are for people, and one should really go for the individual persons before one actually goes for the infrastructure as such. And we hope that all the different Urban Thinkers campuses which are now planned in the lead up to the Habitat 3, we hope that that will secure that it will be a people-centered approach to urbanization that will be discussed at the Habitat 3 conference. So the transforming and developing of cities should, of course, be very sustainable. But that is something that takes time. And by starting with public space, you get a chance to actually start with something which is easy, it could be quickly done, it's visible, and it can give results to the city as a whole, while you are also then working with longer-term issues. Good functional public spaces gets the city more attractive, more accessible, safer, vibrant, and dynamic. Now, in order to get our understanding of the importance of public space to really happen, we then also think that it's very needed to have strong institutions and political will. If there isn't the basic understanding in the political corridors about the need for this, and if there is not institutions that can put financial systems, legislating things on the table, then it will not happen. So we argue a lot for the institutions, and I hope that this is something that can also be discussed during the course of the conference in Quito. So during these 2.5 days when we are here, we are now going to conclude the Future of Places process. We have been talking about the importance of public space for 3.5 years. Now the Habitat 3 conference in Quito next year is going to have hundreds and hundreds of different lobby groups that is going to argue for different things from different perspectives. But I think that we are pretty well prepared, who have kind of for such a long time tried to refine our arguments and try to put them into the processes in different ways in order to secure that the Habitat 3 conference in Quito, when talking about building sustainable cities, will not forget public space. So I hope that when we leave this conference on Wednesday, we know that we have contributed to the future of urbanization by securing the place for public space at Habitat 3. So I wish us a good conference, and thank you again for having decided to spend these days here together.